Hello. Yes, I'm here again. Yes, I'm still awake. I think I'm awake. I may be in an alternative reality. Maybe this domestic bliss is actually a Rani trick. Yeah. How's the mic, everybody? Sorry to say this. It feels so unprofessional, but um, no problem. Right. Okay, I'm going to get Cliff on. The great thing about the sense sphere, hopefully, is that every day we have different people on, different ideas, different theories, and therefore different viewpoints. Good to see you, Cliff.
How you doing, man?
Well, I know I've got my fingers crossed, my feet crossed. I've got everything crossed because I'd love a thread today where nobody goes, Brendan, you sound like a Dalek. Brendan, you sound as though you're in an echo chamber. I don't like them, as you know. But today's all about this is the night before we hit the finale of the two-parter, and I'm not even going to joke about great expectations because I think, Brendan, you're pushing that one. But it's funny. We were just saying before we started that the rumors are, well, obviously the Rani's back. The Rani, possibly Omega, possibly the Daleks, possibly Susan, possibly the Valyard. I mean, as I was saying to you, it's a bit like when you see a little kid and they open up their toy box and they get all the toys out and they don't focus on any of them. And RTD almost looks as though he's just throwing loads of toys at us.
Absolutely, and you know the the irony of that sort of statement kind of plays into what I've been thinking for a while. But I think I've modified my my grander theory. But I've also never been in a situation where I've been watching Doctor Who as a chore. I'm only getting through these to kind of report back or participate in the discussions about how awful it's been. So I'm hoping that there's at least something in this that allows for a bit of a reset or a change of gears or something that makes it all
Yeah, we're full of
make
hope. I
sense.
mean, obviously, last night, yes, did I sleep? We were looking at the reports that some were redacted. But actually, the papers have all got it in. Is Shooty Gatwa axed? I did the show last night. I've plunked that there. I'm not going to talk about that now necessarily, unless you ask us all at the end. But basically, that's there. But this one is all about looking forward and looking back at Doctor Who, especially when you've got a character like the Rani. So, of course, we've got Wish World, episode 7 of 8. Do you know what, Cliff? It's only 44 minutes long. I mean, we're in and out of this one. Starts at 6:50 in the UK. Well, if you want to watch it at that time, I'll be watching at 8 in the morning because a load of people blooming spoil it. So I'll be doing that. Now, just before I come to any super chats and all the other stuff, I just want to say we had Anita Dobson, a la Mrs. Flood. She was on the One Show this week, and that's when they showed that trailer in that. They were in a kind of Flintstones kingdom in the sky with bones everywhere. And she said, "Oh, don't slip on the ice," to the Rani. And then she said, and they were like sisters arguing. And she was winding the Rani up. And then she said, "In a way, she said, I'm your senior because you came from my loins." And she said, "What a disgusting thing." So that was basically the vibe. And lots of levers. And then the Sonic, I've got all the photographs. So Anita Dobson was advertising that. But then we also, there it is, there's the clip itself. They're in the sky. It's very bony. It's very Barney Rubble. It's very Fred Flintstone. It does have that kind of the Flintstones in Las Vegas vibe to it. Um, and then, of course, they've done this sort of trailer where you can see she's got this kind of spacecraft on the right there, the Rani, and she's flying up to that bony kingdom. And then you've got the cute space baby, maybe. And then you've got domestic bliss of Belinda and the Doctor. Does she know he's gay? But and then yeah, there you go. Morning, darling. Morning, sweet. They're heading for divorce. Talking like that. I think it's false. And then in the middle, you've got Happy Morning, Unified National Insurance Team. All right. So unit is something different. Okay. So that was a bit of the hype this week, Cliff. Where do you think we're heading?
God. Um, I, I I don't know where Davies is getting his substances is my first thought, having not seen the one show and not knowing about that. We don't get that ever here in the States. But on first glance, I don't know if we want to go towards my theory, but this kind of looks like it plays into it to some degree.
Right, well,
Um,
Cliff, I'll interrupt you because this is right, everybody. I've got Cliff on because Cliff wrote to me yesterday and he said he's been thinking about it with what's going on with the Rani, blah, blah, blah. And in essence, he's got a theory. Well, I'm a fan and I like theories, and it's the day before the episode. So, everybody, if I just show you these clips again and then I'll warm up Cliff to share with us his theory. So, basically, you can see that there's this bony kingdom in the sky. Everybody on Earth is doing this domestic bliss. UNIT is now just a unified national insurance team, and all the UNIT people look different. It's a bit inferno, but a bit domestic. Then you've got the hidden secret mention. There's a shame, and how can anyone doubt this glorious world that we live in? It says, and then one of the fans was saying, "What's going on? What's going on?" So let's hear from a fan. Cliff, over to you. What's your theory?
well, first of all, to count me as a fan
Yeah,
of this show,
ultra
I
fan.
think second of all, I'm laughing because I keep hearing John Cleese, and, and this is my theory,
Yeah.
and it's the theory that's mine. Um, well, it suddenly occurred to me that with the Ronnie and her statements at the end, that what I've imagined all along is that this was, I initially thought it might be something that the toy maker had done, and that he had created a reality to get out of where he was, muck around with the doctor a bit. The doctor put him back in his place, defeated him, but it's all still part of the plan. He's trailing on. As the whole Ronnie thing unfolded, it started occurring to me, backtracking through, that the Vindicator, why it's called that, I don't know. Nobody had a dictionary to look up the word vindicate, but be that as it may, can't get them to her time on Earth. They keep bouncing off something. They keep hitting a barrier. They keep reaching an impasse. So it started to occur to me that they're in a bubble. They're trapped in a specific time area or spatial area. And when the Ronnie popped in, I started flipping back through some of her old appearances. There's the novel State of Change, where she did the same thing by isolating a chunk of ancient Rome, and advancing them to see how they would culturally change. So they have electricity, and that kind of thing. It's a fantastic novel. To me now, seeing this for the first time, I see this as probably her hub above the entire reality, until above her little alternate universe petri dish that she's got them trapped in.
Yeah.
And she's creating scenarios to manipulate the doctor. And that goes back to something that Mrs. Flood said during I forget the Anubis, the title of the Anubis one this go around, that she's trying to, that the storm's coming, so she's trying to get his power. Now, his is not specific in that line, but it could be the doctor, it could be whoever's coming. But I think she's done all this either to escape whatever she's been trapped in all along, or as a means, just this usual Russell T Davies flippant use of old stuff to be clever. She's trying to do something to get the doctor's power in some way.
Everybody, there's a lot I'm going to show you tonight. Obviously, Cliff's going to dovetail a lot of his ideas through. So the Petri dish idea, I quite like the look of, because when you saw that kingdom in the sky, and like he said, the TARDIS keeps getting bounced back from May the 24th, 2025. So basically, it's as if, like you said, there's an immunity bubble around it, a protection, because there's a scientific experiment going on there.
And I forgot to mention that it always bugged me. I always thought it was some kind of fanboy retconning, and I'm sitting over here in my house just wishing all of these things were actually true. Then, if you look, if it got with the appearance of the baby, the little girl, most recently, well, that then solidifies that all this was from the time that 13 regenerated into 14. Now, I could be wrong
Yeah.
about that. It could be from 14 in the bi-generation, but that goes back to the biological sciences of the Rani and what she might be trying
Well,
to make.
there's a lot to unpick, and there's a lot for me to take us through. So, first of all, folks, when I called it To Rani and the Baby, actually, there's that baby there. I will call it a white baby because it's relevant, because you then see a little black girl, maybe the one you saw in the story in the engine. So basically, you've got two little kids, at least two little kids, and Conrad's with the baby as well. And this baby could be key in so many ways. So there's going to be a section today, folks, when we'll talk about the baby idea, because is the baby a trap? Because the baby was plonked on the church on Ruby Road on midnight. There could be a whole load of stuff going on. The kid could be Belinda as a child. This and then does Susan play into this? So, folks, you're going to have to really help us today, everybody, because there's a lot of ideas we've got. Now, first of all, it's very nice when you get support and friends, especially when they know that you are half dead. So, first of all, thank you very much, IFRS.
Yeah! Woohoo!
Yeah, they're not having any more than that. They haven't. They've been in bed. They've been useless. So IFRS, I want the rumours stopped now. Oh dear, IFRS, I'm going to be sending loads. Tell the truth, Brendan. Brenda. Oh, he's doing it deliberately. The Sun reports that the Who pets have been sacked and de-threaded. Reassure us, are the Who pets safe? Oh, I tell you what, there's 10 of them over there. They're quaking in their boots. They don't know who's going to get the hand up them next. Um, yeah. Who's going to be thrown out the window? Who's going to get attacked by our mum's dog? You know, they don't know, because they could be kidnapped by the dog and taken away and be headless. IFRS, it could be so much darker than Doctor Who. So much darker. But thanks for that. It's lovely of you to support us. Just before we then start really moving on with this, because oh God, there's so much to unravel. But I'm just trying to see if there's any theories as we go, just to try and keep up. But everybody's helping out here. So yes, on this one, Garrett was saying, "What's going on? What is Conrad reading?" I'll show you that picture. Oh, is Poppy the doctor and Belinda's child? Why do the Doctor and Belinda have wedding rings on? Well, I think it's called they're married. What is going on in unit headquarters? Insurance broken. Get John Yulden onto. Whose baby is the Rani holding? That's what is Mrs. Flood up to? Cleaning. No, I mean, you know, what's going on here? Yes.
I have another question to ask. Why is Susan in the TARDIS?
And
That's another thing that's not really come up, is that she does appear, pops in, like the weird cameo
yeah.
that it was. But why from inside?
Oh, Cliff, there's so many questions. If you've got all the fans talking about Omega coming back, maybe Daleks coming back, maybe the Valiard, maybe Missy, maybe the Master, and definitely the Rani, poor Susan. You've eclipsed her, overshadowed the original companion straight away. That's out of order. I don't like that. However, let's get going. First of all, the bi-generation. I mean, that was cool, wasn't it? Everybody should say I'm shaking my head. I found it so underwhelming. However, you think, as a few people think, Simon Anthony, who's been on our show, said, I think, Brendan, it might be a 2-year wrap up this. The bi-generation between the 14th and 15th Doctor gets sealed again at the end of this series. Although this doesn't fit why we now have this mythical bi-generation happening all the time. Unless, Cliff, we are in this fantasy weird place.
Or that how the Rani has always been utilized is after some sort of biological study or biological science or biological manipulation. Every story she's been in.
Yeah.
So the entire basis of the bi-generation may be just her messing about with Time Lord regeneration cycles. She's done it to herself. She's now done it to the Doctor so that she can manipulate him in whatever experiment she's got going on. And trust me, folks, everybody, this is not the ridiculous theory I wanted to have about this show ever. This is I'm saying all this stuff, and it seems to make sense and line up with all the things that I've
Yeah.
seen. But it just makes me so sad. It's so contrived and so juvenile and
Well,
so
it
badly put together to have this kind of payoff, and like you said, overshadowing the real thing, which is Susan Foreman coming back from her
but it's a
time
bit like
at
it's a bit
the
like when
dock.
you see one of those big events, like if you're in a stadium, and on the field there's, like if you saw athletics, and there's the javelin, lots of field spots going on. There's an athletics going on around the track. There's a shot put going on. That people are getting ready. Basically, you have to work out, where do you want to focus. Do you want to watch the triple jump and follow it through? Do you want to watch the long jump and follow it through? Or are you just going to kind of stare at the whole event? And I get the vibe sometimes with Doctor Who currently under RTD that basically, should I be noticing and bothered about Susan? Should I be bothered about Omega coming back? Should I be bothered about the Rani? Should I be bothered about the Doctor? Remember him? Should I be... And in the end, I don't know who to focus on. And dramatically, that's dangerous.
I think it's because of the way now, as I see it, even going back to Bad Wolf, and the way he filled that in. He comes up with some sort of payoff idea, and then he retroactively fills in the blanks. So it ends up being a vehicle to propel, and so the mysteries are not connected. There's nothing connected. He's not done anything to narratively connect everything to the big payoff. It's just skateboards with bits of the idea rolling along the street. So it's like watching that, trying to pick which event in the arena you're wanting to watch, and some dude trips down the stairs spills all of his drinks. You end up not watching any of it because some other thing has distracted you.
Yeah. So we know from the Four Knocks and in the Writer's Tale, he came up with a Four Knocks idea that was first mentioned in Planet of the Dead, and then gradually started telling Benjamin Cook, I'll have to work out what the Four Knocks is all about. And eventually, actually it paid off that time. He did think of a decent idea with Bernard Cribbins. However, these are bad writing habits. Tomorrow will never come. I'll deal with it later. You do have to plan some things out. And we were both saying before we started the stream, it's quite clear that he didn't know who Mrs. Flood was. She was just some magical box, and eventually he'll deal with it. The trouble is, as usual, you probably won't get much explanation. In 44 minutes, Rani, Susan, maybe, other things going on, and a story, apparently. You're not going to get much explanation, are you?
I can't see it happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a rushed through, just take my word for it kind of approach. And it very likely will not mention any of her previous stories, why she's really there. It'll be a flippant, one-off, minute-long, diatribe about why it all perfectly makes sense, and then they'll go on.
Cliff, they've already said that they honour the original Rani, but move her on for a modern audience. And isn't that a euphemism for saying we've completely changed her?
It is. It is, because I would contend that they don't really know what a modern audience is by virtue of the slipping ratings. They're holding on to probably just the people like us that are tuning in to see how terrible it's going to be. I mean, they got lucky with the Eurovision thing, pumping it up that one week with the song contest episode. But otherwise, I really just, I don't, and if RTD has any kind of sense of longevity, that he wants to keep doing this, then he's going to have some kind of awareness and some kind of humble pie about those numbers and exactly what's going on here with that modern audience.
Well, let's have a look. Bobby D75 here is saying what I thought. Mrs. Flood could turn, she's there now, and she's going to end up being because she's like a servant of the other one, and it doesn't help when we fall into the race argument. Mrs. Flood could turn on the unholy trinity and help end the reality war, which of course is basically what the Capaldi Doctor was trying to get Missy to do with the Master in World Enough and Time. It's the same again, but I get it, Bobby, because we seem to be getting lots of recycled stuff. Remember, he said there's the unholy trinity, and he said the Rani counts as one, Conrad, there's one we haven't seen. So everybody's guessing maybe Missy because Michelle Gomez was at the premiere. And of course, somebody with red fingernails, could be the Rani, picked up the golden tooth. And so, it's all explained now. Then there's the rumour that Russell Tovey, who is obviously starring in the 5-part spin-off with the Sea Devils, is actually the master. So basically, he's introduced and then spins off. There's a lot of spinning going on here. And sometimes a lot of spin and no action. And so anyway, that's that. I found this underwhelming. It better have a payoff in the final 2 parts. Whereas Utopia, the Jacoby master was so charismatic and impactful that actually, I think it launched the 2 closing parts. Now, have you seen everybody who's a Time Lord or Time Lady has to have a sonic screwdriver? There you go. This was in the trailer, and can you see how her fingers wrap around it? It's a bit like a syringe thing. It's like a medical, a sonic needle or something. I don't know. It sounds dodgy, this. But yes, there you go, everyone. Just so you can see, we've closed up there. Gimmicks, merchandise, Christmas. Do you care? I just like it to be part of the story. I love Sarah Jane Smith. I didn't mind the Sarah Jane Adventures. I didn't like the Sonic lipstick. You know, there's only so far, please. Come on. You know when it ends up being tacky merchandise, and that was one of them. So I'm not quite sure about all this lot. She's just been born, so to speak, and suddenly she's got a sonic hypodermic needle or something like that. It's very weird.
TCE.
What's that?
Tissue compression limiter could be. It's a little bit similar in where she's pulling it back, just like the master and his TCE from.
Isn't it funny how he doesn't like the sonic screwdriver because he doesn't want it to be like a gun, and everybody else has got people have got wheelchair weapons and bazookas and everything going off. John, are you?
Those are just things that Art Russell says retroactively to couch where he's.
Right, I better. Let's have a look. We've got John. Let's have a look. I think, do you know, they've done nothing. They've been out in the sun. They are going to get sacked, but I think they've started to get their act together now. Oh. Do you know, watching that, I've worked out who's been messing on with my mic. It's them. Tell you what, do you see, they're pulling wires. They haven't got a blooming clue. They think I'm doing this so they can earn money. Those hoopettes haven't got a blooming clue. And they're messing with my mic. When I'm sounding like Davros, everybody, it's the hoopettes. Sack 'em. I say sack 'em. Right, away. Let's get them blooming sacked. I'm furious with them. John Yulden, $4.99 is very generous, but it's not going to save them. They are out on their backsides. The Rani has been rebranded into a diverse character that fits his diverse script and will discuss her sexual preferences. I was talking to John earlier, and obviously on a Friday, John likes to tell me about, I think there might be a bit of lesbianism, Brendan. I think that, I'm thinking, what, in a 44-minute plot? My God, they'd have to go at it like rabbits. No, please, can we not have any? I'm going to be a prude. I'm turning very Catholic. Can we have no sex, please? Can we just get on with some action?
Well, I think there will definitely be a line dropped in the vein. I'm not here for the man. I'm here for the girl,
no.
He can't resist that sort of.
Yeah. Leave the bloke. I'm after, Oh no, you're giving me nightmares now. Oh no, that's and I'm slightly disappointed because Mrs. Flood in the Interstellar Song Contest was starting to look like, because I was waiting for her to have a role to do apart from 2 lines, and all of a sudden, I thought, oh, she's spying on him. Oh, this is a bit James Bond. Oh, this is all right. Yeah, the plan's coming together. I'm up for this. It's just that when you see this sprinkling of characters she's been over the series, you just think you've been making it up. You're making her mysterious. You don't quite know what she's going to do and how she's tying it up. She's quite passive, Cliff, because she's when Sutek attacked, she was just sat on the bed and she was basically turned to sand. So she died. In the Interstellar Song Contest, she was sat on a chair watching the song contest, and she would have died as well. So basically, in a way, she seems pretty useless.
Unless none of those are real. If it's all, again, if you go back to like those first three at the top, that's from the
Yeah.
early parts of the first series where he probably hadn't figured out what she was. It's just a face that keeps popping up. Even with the umbrella, that was just a
Yeah.
gimmicky, another gimmicky fourth wall breaking thing. When I was looking through trying to figure out all the appearances of Mrs. Flood and stuff like that, one thing that struck me as odd was the proms when she was there and it was all live and she was introduced to announce the Legend of Ruby Sunday episode there. We didn't get that in the States, so if many of the United States folks haven't seen it yet, basically that's where she says that she remembers being in 1986 and she remembers going to one of her favorite rock concerts where she saw Queen, and she's got these other things punctuated where that's really the moment where I think he had decided, oh, I'll be clever and make her the Rani, and that'll explain everything. So that's him retconning his own nonsense. From that moment on, it's kind of seeded with a few of the things where maybe she's watching the experiment from the outside or she's involving herself in there, but without explanations for things like why is it even called a vinegar?
Yeah, because we've jumped, haven't we? Because the TARDIS imploded at the end of the last episode, so it looks as though we're going to jump in time to where she's taken them, and she hasn't wanted the Doctor to land on the 24th of May because he would have noticed what she's done or blown up or ruined. Because remember, at the very beginning in the Robot Revolution, he didn't see outside the TARDIS that all of the Earth had been ruined. You had the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, and everything. Eastland Burkholder, I'm sorry, I've seen you walking in. I don't miss a trick. 14 minutes late, scooting into the classroom. Have you done your homework? You're in big doo-doo. The Hoopettes might be in trouble, but I tell you what, I'm in your face now, mate. You better ask some good questions to prove you're listening at the back. Yeah. Hunter Callan, Omega will be portrayed as Razalon's spurned brother or wife or love interest. It will be EastEnders in space. Yes, I know. It's going to be, I don't want Omega to suddenly have a conscience and go, do you know what? I've missed having a wife. And I just wanted to one day have a little kid and take him to a creche. And you're going, stop it. Stop domesticating Doctor Who. Just stop it.
I'm trying to pose this all from the perspective of how does Russell feel about the Rani? What does he feel like her motivations would be? Why would she set it? If I'm even remotely right, and this is some sort of experiment that she set up. She may be outside of it, and it's somebody else doing it, and she's trying to just take advantage of it. I don't know what. But why would there be a story where the Doctor has domestic bliss that then gets taken away from him? It's sort of a level of cruelty that he's going to try to apply to the Rani, messing about with the Doctor. I've got your child. None of it will really pan out. That's why I think that Poppy is another aspect outside of the experiment that's sneaking in, trying to be clues, trying to be breadcrumbs to lead him on the right path.
Yeah, well, apparently Ruby is the one. Ruby sees through it all. Ruby apparently sees it's all not real. So there's that tension
being part of that.
Yeah, and then there's a photograph where it looks as though the Doctor does look upset. Sorry, Cliff, I'm going to shock you. He looks upset. So it's a new emotion.
Does he cry?
Yeah, he cries. And he just looks a bit down. And I think it's because he realizes that everything isn't real. Now, isn't that human nature and family of blood? Isn't that also
Yeah.
Silence in the Library with Donna Noble when there was the the have isn't it's just you've been here before. Anyway, Eye of Horus.
Well, the other tangent that was very surprising to me was as I'm looking through all of the appearances of the Rani, she was the villain in the Dimensions in Time, right?
Yep.
Another thing that we didn't get in the States, where she traps the essences of the doctors, the existing living actors at that time, within the square, trying to gain their power.
And remember, I know RTD. You've got to remember, he's acting like a fanboy, and you'll go, "I like that. I like it." Apparently, Shooty Gatwa was the one who said, "Can he face the Rani?" So apparently, that was like a special request. Eye of Horus, breaking for the fourth wall, permission to break the TV set with a hammer. Well, when I was doing my show last night, one of the key verbs in that Sun article was that this was the final hammer in the. They were hammering the final nail in the coffin by him not doing the Eurovision. Apparently, that was the insider, wasn't it? So that was it's going to be interesting how that pans out. But Jess, there's a lot of intemperate nonsense, one might say. Twaddle. All of this and the so-called Falani, we need to drain the cesspit. There's a bit of a stench. But as Cliff started, we are fans. And even though our instincts are saying what you're saying, Jess, there's an element where you're going, please, can you just land it? Because the series has to land for it to have any future when we want it to come back. It has to have some sense to it. If it ends up being a fanboy fantasy and Omega meets Sutek and they go to the pub and a Dalek suddenly discovers emotions and discovers their femininity and the Rani suddenly has a crush of women. I mean, there's got to be a point when a future showrunner goes, I have to have some common sense here to bring this back. So in a way, it's in our interest to land this series and somehow it just makes sense. I know I'm asking so much there. Another good writer here, Eta Mirabilis. Hello all. What if the baby is the Valyard? Oh, you see, here we go. And all the bi-generation nonsense is part of the Rani experiment to create the dark version of the Doctor. Now, I like that. That's interesting because that falls into your petri dish idea. And the Doctor can't land back too early, blah, blah, blah. Thus, the baby is the future Valyard. Oh, well, I'm coming to them photographs. I find that very interesting, actually. And I find that kind of sci-fi-ish. And I'm on that one. So, yes, the more the merrier on that sort of stuff.
I think it could even be. I could think it could be that. I think it could be as simple as she's trying to get an infinite number of regenerations or something. But I really don't think that Russell's going to have thought it through to that.
No.
I think even all the comments that I'm reading and other suggestions are more clever.
Yes.
Than what I actually anticipate is going to happen.
Now, this is what we do know. Now, we're Doctor Who fans, so we don't like... Well, sorry, I'll say what I think. I like consistency. Yes, you have to move things on a little bit, but you respect where you are. So the beginnings of the Rani, she went to Time Lord Academy. We learnt that. A reluctant ally of the Master. She's a brilliant but morally suspect neurochemist. She was expelled after an experiment on mice-created monsters that ate the Lord President's cat. Forced to leave Gallifrey, she took on the role of a renegade. I've been collecting clips over this weekend from Time and the Rani and Mark of the Rani, and she also isn't interested in the rivalry between the Master and the Doctor. She finds that almost like male ego. She's like, no, I just want to get on with my experiment. I just want to do this. I remember the moment in I think it was the Mark of the Rani when the sixth Doctor says, "Oh, you've just been interfering with my planet and everything." And then she said, "I've been coming here a long time," and I kind of like the idea would feed into this finale, which is, Doctor, I've been tampering with the Earth forever.
Yeah, that was the kind of the delivery with Mark is that those kind of diseases, those kind of episodes of Contagion. Any one of them you could probably now attribute to the Rani. And it struck me in that story particularly. Time is a little weird, but especially in that story, that she does these things just for the thrill of the experiment. She's not really interested in what happens to the outcome, right? It's almost like doing an experiment, and if all of the subjects die, just move on to the next one. It's the interest of the experimentation that she's into. So I kind of don't even like the Ronnie having an end goal, an end game. That's a master thing. The Ronnie just doing it just to see what happens makes more sense to me.
Having said that, we say we hate soap operas, but Iophorus is developing his own here, which is with all the abuse from Brenda, who pets shall be accepted into social care. We'll have to do a spin-off. We all love spin-offs. They'll be spinning off somewhere. So yes, in the Mark of the Rani, basically, as we all remember, she just wanted to get a certain chemical from the humans. It took ages. Remember, the master nicked it, and she was using it to kind of, because she was like a queen on another planet, wasn't she? And she's like the master. She does disguise. Why she wanted to waste time trying to be a little washerwoman, and even this is a bit like EastEnders with the laundrette. She runs a laundrette. Anyway, there she is, all done up, and the doctor recognizes her straight away. The master recognizes her straight away. She recognized the doctor straight away. There was none of this nonsense. And in the Mark of the Rani, she was never after this world domination or universe domination that the master always was, but she was clinical with her experiments, and when she'd had enough of those lads, she just killed them, didn't she? That's it, just dead. And she had some gruesome ways of trapping you. Remember that volcano screen and the gas and everything? She had lots and lots of traps. So yes, there she is there. And of course, just before we move on photograph-wise, I was always fascinated when I watched Mark of the Rani with those dinosaurs in those jars. And of course, there was the moment one of them spilled and smashed and it got bigger. And now we've got in this Wish world lots of skeletons of dinosaurs. And I'm just wondering, is there some link back to Mark of the Rani?
There's the dinosaur pop in where they step on the bug,
Yes.
That it could all go back to that. Yeah.
So the Rani's cleverer than any of us. Oh God. Well, that was said in 86, so God help us now. And now it'll be like, because she's a woman, the female presenting, all that stuff. Why can't we have a male Rani? We can do gender fluidity now, so can't we have a male Rani, please? She's managed to modify that scanner so it presents what's in the mind instead of what's happening in reality. Can I just show that bit again? Because is this going to link with our reality war? She's managed to modify the scanner so it presents what's in the mind. And by the way, I have got photographs today where from Space Babies onwards, the doctor and other people have said, I wish this, I wish that. And this is Wish World. So the doctors maybe always wanted a domestic life. Or we're going to do that soppy stuff again, aren't we? Which is the doctors always wanted to settle down. And RTD gave an interview last year and he said, the doctor doesn't pay bills, the doctor doesn't pay taxes, the doctor doesn't do this, the doctor doesn't have a mortgage. And, every time he vents or says something like that, now you realise he's going to do a story where the doctor has a mortgage, the doctor has kids, the doctor has to pay rent or whatever, and it's like, oh, right, okay. So anyway, she can distort reality. She can make you see things that aren't there. So the reality war Wish world might be consistent to what she can do. And then, of course, I didn't quite... Time and Rani went a bit strange matter and asteroids and all that stuff. And it went a bit Dallas, didn't it? But there's her TARDIS. I loved her TARDIS in Mark of the Rani. Very stylish. Here, it was a little bit on the cheap side, a little kind of pyramid thing. But I wonder if we get to see her TARDIS again, because I tell you what, it was so fascinating to see her TARDIS. I'd be quite up for that. How are you feeling about this, Cliff, regarding... I wouldn't really want the Valeyard back now because, it was so well depicted by Michael Jaston. Kate O'Mara and the Rani. Come on, you know, I don't know. I find it problematic, really.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any retroactive uh, alternate explanations and things like that. The Valiard was a distillation of the worst decisions the Doctor could have ever possibly made that the Matrix sort of came up with, and we don't need to revisit that. It is what it is. You know, I don't really think the Valiard's popped up in any other books or anything either that I know of. The Rani is in reality. She's here. She was a schoolmate, you know, along with the master and the monk, and they all are classmates of one another. So they come from the same kind of challenger, the status quo kind of mold, but they're all different prismatic versions of that. The Doctor being the one who has the altruism and the who values life in and of itself and those kind of things. The Master wants revenge against the Doctor or against the Time Lords and is always
Yeah,
wanting dominance and more power. Ronnie, by virtue of that mouse story, just likes messing with stuff. And
yeah,
so, go ahead.
yeah. So sorry, Cliff. Yeah, that I find her therefore actually more interesting. The master thing, the rivalry from Terror of the Autons onwards was good, but I have to say, I'm it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and in the end, I found it a little bit tedious. So I kind of like this kind of somebody with a purpose, somebody with a goal, not necessarily they want to take on the whole world and destroy it and all that nonsense. I get bored with that. Size and scale, I think sometimes loses the drama. And I think sometimes if you can see, I want to do that, so I do that, and then that happens. I'm into that. Tomboy Chick, good to see you. It's handy that none of the original actors for Rani and Valiard are no longer here to say their piece. Is that why Artie? Well, as I said, he opens the toy box of Doctor Who and he gets them all out and he thinks, you know, I'm going to play with them all. Remember what he said at San Diego Comic Con last year? And he talked about, oh, every kid wanted to mix their Star Wars figures with Doctor Who. No, no, we all had our separate realities and separate universes and we can cope with it. I never wanted to get William Shatner's Captain Kirk in the TARDIS. Nope. That's you, RTD. No, we can cope. Julie Ann Goodwin, the finale sounds like a big messy load of cobblers where everything happens just because I'm not expecting anything other than a big anticlimax, nonsensical pantomime like the last one last year. And the trouble is, Julianne Goodwin, is with the rumours of whether there's an open-ended regeneration or whether we do go into, in the future, a season 3, this needs to be epic. This needs to be impactful. This needs to be memorable for the public, not the fans. You know, the fans make notes and all the rest of it. No, I mean the public. If the public are going, is Doctor Who on? Is it on? I don't know. It got. I'm worried sick, Cliff, about this in a way because there's so many moving parts in these plots. That
My concern goes a step further to say that people won't be. Is it on? Wondering if it's actually going to be around, rather than instead they might be saying, "Oh, it's on, click." And
yeah.
you know the what he's developed is an overcomplicated deterrent to wanting to be part of this still, and that's the real shame. You know, you're talking about Omega coming back in or whatever, and all of this should be taking a back seat to the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan. All of it. That's the real return that should be celebrated in the anniversary year, which I guess this is kind of an extension of it, but you know, better late than never. You don't know how to tell time on a calendar, but it should be focusing on that relationship and a reuniting of the two of them instead of bringing the Rani into it at all.
There's something I find it so funny. There's the mixed messages from RTD. He said last year he doesn't want the actors playing the Doctor to look back, you know, just move forward and all the rest of it. And in many ways, you go, yeah, go on then, you know, just. Although I do think the main actor should know about the Doctor character and have done a bit of research.
Have to.
But in one way he says we should always look forward, and then he's going to use Sutek, mention Omega, maybe the Valiad, Susan as the twist, the Rani. I mean, honestly, as a writer, you have to. You see, this is the difference between fanboy fiction and being a writer. I am arguing now that if you were a proper writer with ideas, you wouldn't have to lean into any of the Doctor Who history. You invent new stuff and move forward. Robert Holmes took the idea of there was hardly anything about the Time Lords, and he delivered Deadly Assassin. And he delivered this whole world to us. He moved forward. He didn't, you know, he thought, well, them Time Lords haven't really been used. Let's do a full-on whack of a story. And I just think RTD, it's getting lazy, Cliff. I'll bring Sutek back. I may not even explain who he is. I'll bring Rani back. Will I explain? I'll just say she's a renegade. Who cares? The British public, the casual viewers will go, who's this? Oh, why is this happening? Why have they got that? What's going? And if there's too many questions, they're just going to say, oh, is Britain's Got Talent still on? Yeah,
They're
off
gonna
the
flip
other
over.
side.
And I
Yeah.
think he's doing it even for worse reasons, like the cultural appropriation line in there. There's
Oh, yeah.
there's worse reasons that he's going to these sources, because not only does it result in a bad bad viewing now, but as you said in many of the shows dealing with that, it undermines the original. It's hard to now watch Pyramids of Mars and not think of the stupid thing right on the back of the TARDIS the whole time. He doesn't have an understanding of the dominoes he's flipping over here, and it's not just irritating all of us conspiracy theorists, old grouchy fans who he doesn't want on board. He wants the new fans only. Well, you're not cultivating them either, obviously, or else the numbers would bear that. So your entire strategy is flawed, and you're doing nothing but bringing it down.
May I just say, Atom, I love it. I can describe the Rani in a few short examples. The one I like is, I loved the island of Dr. Moreau. Oh,
Yes.
and the experiments when they went from animals to humans and humans to animals. I loved all that. And it's I know it's got horrible resonances with the Second World War, which makes it evil and menacing and scary if you're caught by this person, because a bit like that moment in Vengeance on Varos when Perry suddenly turned into a bird. And a horrible experiment going on there. And just imagine if it goes too far with the Rani, that is a permanent change. Wow, you just don't want to be caught.
Well, but also think of the storytelling. This is the perfect kind of Doctor Who storytelling that I want, right? Joseph Mengele, we always think of, he's the diabolical scientist villain of the Nazi regime. But in the 20s and 30s, the standard follow the science was eugenics. The globe over. Everybody thought that was the way to go. And it took something, it culminating into the awfulness of World War II and the Holocaust, for everybody to realize, man, we were way off track. And I see the Rani as being a good way to represent that in storytelling and make a complicated, good story out of it. But
It's
he's
very
superficial about it all.
Yeah, it's very ruthless. And there's a lot of ideas coming, and we're ticking through here. Mr. Puzzled, RTD simply does not process the capacity to write outside the niche corner. The return of old favourites is because RTD does a writing committee every time. Do you know what, Cliff? If I wrote to the BBC and said I've got an idea for a Doctor Who story and it had anything from the past, they would just put it in the bin. How come he's getting away with all this? I'm sorry, it is lazy. I hope he lands it, but it's lazy. And I think now, I'm so bored with thinking Davros, Daleks, Missy, Master, this, that, and the other. I actually just want something new.
Well, because it's the backseat message that he's always pulling into it. He says, I'll go and do a Sutek thing. And they're like, I don't know the thing. Yeah, but he was Egyptian, and this was cultural. He's going to pander to a different different message that the BBC probably likes or might prefer being told, uh, having some cultural challenge and stuff like that, and that's how he's able to do this. They're not checking the scripts as he's writing them. They're trusting him, and he's saying, "Trust me, I'll do it again."
Well, we have to trust him because, as you can see, whether this is the Rani's TARDIS or whether they just live in this bone kingdom, but there's a bedroom, so that's handy. We get the bedroom. I suppose it's very like the 1980s TARDIS, but if you get a bed, that means you could have some action. So I don't know. It's worrying. There's a bed there. Why is this just I mean, what's going on? Anyway, Mrs. Flood or the Rani is there in disguise. Oh, up to mischief. There you go. I like this sort of thing. You know, I do hope she's not just going to be a compliant, you know, second-rate character. I hope she's got a lot more to give. Because they do look as though they're going to have this sibling rivalry almost, this kind of, you know, bit like the Doctors 2 and 3. But it could be like this. Gallifrey, I've forgotten what they're called, but they do a kind of cabaret. This is the Rani. But, oh, God help us.
Probably more than I believe.
Yeah.
His blood.
So when you're worried about what the Rani is going to be turned into, it could be worse, folks. It could be worse. But there you go. Yeah, there you go. We can all be a Rani for a night.
Look, but see, here's the thing. I don't even mind a Camp Rani if the story's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a certain amount of allowance that I can give any portrayal as long as it makes sense in the story. And I don't trust RTD to be there this weekend.
And in the Doctor Who magazine, they mentioned straight away that moment when she says, "Never seen a TARDIS before." And everybody thought, well, if she's seen the TARDIS before, yeah. And then if I go big here, it was talking about the show's 62 years old, and look what a great party we having. Yeah, right. Okay, then somebody's having a party. I don't know who it is. Look, you know I'm not a big Finnish expert, but I know some of you are. So I wanted to acknowledge that obviously there is a big Finnish story written by Mark Platt, Planet of the Rani. So you have had a different Rani, Siobhan Redmond, who used to be in, was it Between the Lines? She was a good actress.
I had to delve into this one too, and it was actually something that I think Kate O'Mara's people reached out to Big Finish at the time, saying she would like to come back, and so they started working on the plays and had this almost ready to go about 2 or 3 weeks before she passed away. So she was ready to come back and do that, wanted to come back and do this, and then her blessing to continue with it and switch it over was why they went ahead and did these two Rani stories.
Well, Liberal Zardos here, there's nothing wrong with bringing back classic villains. You know my cynical view on this one. If it's accessible to new viewers, if it's done well, and if you're not over-reliant on it and also introduce new threats and villains. Right, let's look at this season. The Robot Revolution, the robots were basically just toys. I mean, basically the villain was a human being boyfriend. In looks, it was a cartoon. God. In the Well, it was a monster from the past that hasn't been seen, hasn't really been described. We don't really know anything about it, whatever. Then we get to a spider god. Then we get to a terrorist kid. In Lucky Day, the monster was dress up. It was Scooby-Doo. I mean, I don't feel as though we've had anything really new. Liberals are does. I know what you're saying, and yeah, Doctor Who always managed to bring something from the past back. But as you say, when you're going to have all the toys from all of Doctor Who history all coming back in a 44-minute episode and then a bit longer for the last one, you're not going to be able to land that. He'd have to be a blooming genius. And equally, how can you want me to focus on Susan and all that emotional engagement, but then also get excited about, oh, there's going to be a bit of action here? And no, it's too all over the shop.
I do understand, and I agree that if under the right circumstances and with the right story and with the right attention, yeah, bring the Daleks in. But we've had a saturation of Daleks since about 2005. They're constantly, you know, popping in for just about no reason and no new ideas. That's when I start to.
Well, we have got a new idea, everybody. I was just explaining to you that we go into this new reality, okay? And the new reality for the Doctor and Belinda is married life. And I've zoomed in, they've got wedding rings on. They obviously do domestic bliss. I mean, I'm a sci-fi fan. I'm like, right, okay, please don't do this for too long, and don't do crappy quiche music. When they did Rose, and we have that bit when she's just finishing off at the shop, and you always get the music. You got it in Robot Revolution. Can we just get on with some sci-fi? So there we go, and there's the babies. Let me just show everybody. It's two Ranis and a baby. I called it. Conrad holding the baby, and the same baby, it looks like, the Rani's proudly holding. I think proudly holding because that baby is going to be key. Because I think, any guesses in the thread now? Who is that baby? Somebody said earlier it's Susan. Oh God. Somebody said earlier that, it could be, the other one could be Belinda. But we've got this baby, and then just before we go on, there were hints when they went to Madison Square Gardens, when they did the marketing for the Robot Revolution start. Look at this, Mum and Dad's night out. Look at, they've been telling us and taunting us all the time. Shooty Gatwa put it on a tweet. Mum and Dad take the Empire State. So they're going to be Mum and Dad. And remember last year in one of the episodes, because of course it's so exciting when RTD lands all these seeds. If you've got a granddaughter, that means you've got kids. And of course, so there's Belinda Chandra with their baby. And there's the baby from the church on Ruby Road. Now, it is a different kind of shawl, or is it? Can I just show? Can you see what the Rani is wearing? Just for a second, please. Yes? That's a hood. That's a cape. Can I just take you back to Church on Ruby Road? Is it possible, folks, that this is going to be RTD's great scheme, that the Rani was involved all the way through and planted Ruby maybe as a decoy or something? What do you reckon, Cliff?
Yes, 100%. And that the wonkiness of the regeneration from Jodie into Tennant, whether that's 13 to 14 or back to 10, I think that it could even be the moment that things were disrupted and set along the path, because Poppy's included somehow. She's involved. So somewhere along the line, this child is part of the entire plan. I think maybe because this is the first time I've seen those images of the Rani holding the baby.
Yeah.
What I would imagine is it plays into her either creating Ruby as, out of this whole experiment, or she's trying to create herself again in some way that transcends what she could be. But Ronnie's really not that forward thinking. She's not that much of a mastermind, in my opinion, but it could be if Russell's changing her up.
We were so, as fans, we were quite scathing about Space Babies. And you wondered why RTD, with all the Disney money and with all the, I don't know, the freedom to go forward with Doctor Who, once he dealt with getting a new Doctor, why he would launch the series with Space Babies. Well, maybe the answer is, if you take a look at that photograph, doesn't that look a bit like inside the TARDIS of the Rani when she had all those, dinosaurs? Is it possible that although it was a rubbish episode and it didn't land and it set us off badly, it was part of a greater scheme to have a payoff at the end. It didn't start well, but maybe the payoff was intended there.
I agree with you now, and it's retconning the retcon. But it's where I think Russell started off with this, and then at some point, uh, decided on the order of stories, decided
Yeah.
to change things up, decided later on, oh, I'll tie it back to this, and we'll. In other words, she's not developed. Don't think that I'm asserting that he developed this from the onset, that it's some master plan. I think that things like this were, popping in after season one. Yeah. That shot with them in the elevator, the mom and dad out in the Empire State Building or something. That after season one? Is that the season 2 promo trip?
The promo for this season when they went to New York.
Well, they came over to New York before the season aired.
Yeah.
So in the off time, he's sort of sculpted it all to go back and tie things together that he never imagined would tie together. That's why it all is loose, and then he shakes it out as if well, I'll leave some other loose ends so I can look even more clever.
Well, the thread is giving us ideas. Some people are panicking now about this. I'm not full of love of this because this is very soap. The authors could at least come up with some good ideas. Story, says David Harding, even if they might be too long to adapt for the show. We need someone in charge who remembers what Doctor Who was when it was great. This is, I don't know, it's dot to dot. It just reminds me of so many plots in EastEnders, You're my mum. Oh, really?
No, but don't think too negatively of the idea of too soap. I mean, because I look back and see the Aztecs, right, as being a little on that edge. I mean, it's a historical piece. Everybody's stuck. That's the dilemma. But other than that, it's just interacting with people. So soap is not necessarily bad in and of itself. It's just how well it's executed and how well it's put together, and what the end game is, the target.
Right, thread saying, Jess, Belinda's baby is Poppy. Really? The word is ethnicity. And look, I don't know. They've done the hair the same. But I have got you can see I've also got in the script. I'll show you. Paul Richards, Space Baby is the timeless child. Oh my, you see, I've heard that, and you think, oh, you see, would you forgive Cliff RTD doing what he's kind of been doing for these 2 seasons if it was an attempt to solve the gaping wound of the timeless child? The trouble is, as I answer that question before you do, if he was trying to solve the timeless child, he's just caused loads of other issues. But anyway, what do you think, Cliff?
Right. That's what I was going to say. Basically, he's definitely gone the long way around to do it. But what it allows is, if the timeless child, I can write it off in my head canon as just being the master lying to the Doctor, because that's the only way we know that story, right? He tells the whole story. This is what happened, and we accept it because we see flashbacks based on what the master is saying. Just say he's a liar because the master's a liar. In this case, we've got the toy maker, we've got the other gods and entities that are these powerful reality shifting beings, and I think all of this becomes different stories. That's the one commonality between everything. The babies in a spaceship. The story is the boogeyman. So that's something kids know as a sense of fear. It's a kid's story. Though that template is put onto everything, even the well. It's this legend of this creature it's a story that people tell, and I think that aspect is what's leading me to believe that she's created all this sort of holodeck, if you will. If we're going to mix metaphors, I might as well mix sci-fi, where they're trapped in it and she can mess around with reality. I think that then the appearance of Poppy, the appearance of Susan, are breaking in. I think that's going to be the breaking in of things, that they.
Well,
I
you've
can
got
see her being confused here in this shot, wanting it's a baby. We got to take care of it. But where did it come from?
yeah,
That I'm speculating, but
yeah.
that
David Harding here. Could Susan, the unearthly child, be a space baby? Could I mean, he could be trying to tee up a Susan spin-off, but not with Caroline Ford. That I mean, but you pay fan service. You bring her back. You say, "Well done. Here's your pension. Bye bye." Right now, it's my show. That sort of thing. Rob Brendan is giving RTD way too much credit. I won't be on Sunday if it doesn't work. I'll allow some belief that somewhere he's written on a piece of paper that bit links with that bit. But
I give
Rob,
him
I am
I
now
give him
cynical.
credit. I give him credit for having the formula in 2005. Right? He reformatted the show. He figured out a way to pace it. He kept it familial and grounded on Earth, and basically changed it. Right? It was as much of a change as from the second to the third. Everything is unit based. Right? It was a huge deal. But at the time, that formula worked. I think he's become too locked into it, and wanted
Yeah,
to do the season arcs and stuff. 8 episodes is not long enough to do one of those season
no,
arcs.
my argument is actually with an
Mixing it
eight episode season. With an 8 episode season, there's no drama in a finale. We've just got used to it being back on the TV. I I think that's overblown drama. It's I don't know. He's from a different decade or universe. RTD just establish the show. I think he's gone too over ambitious in all these things when he's taken for granted that the show is actually established. The show got itself into a mess. The show, the public fell out of love with it. You need to re-establish it. And what you've done is you've ran before you could walk, and you've brought all the toys from the past in when a lot of people are going, I don't know if this is making any sense. And to be honest, I'd have gone back to just bog standard stories. In an 8 episode season, to have two linked with the finale, I mean, just tell 8 good stories. Or actually, my personal preference is maybe 3 good stories with some cliffhangers. Please, honestly, this is he's just doing too much. I think I really do. So some of you might hate this. Some of you, I assume, might like this. But basically, here we go. You've got Poppy, maybe domestic bliss. It's a bit Truman Show. It's a bit. Um, is that baby from Church on Ruby Road going to be the same baby you can see in those other photographs with Conrad and Rani? Conrad is just a lad, isn't he, who's done conspiracy theories. Why is he mixing with the Rani? And then maybe Missy and all the rest of it. I'm thinking that's a bit of a mismatch, surely. Anyway, I was just hinting at this, wasn't I? Here's a bit of the script from Space Babies. The Doctor. I'm sorry, babies, space babies, but we're not your mummy and daddy. I wish we were, but we're not. Bit of a nondescript piece of dialogue, but you know how he does his bad wolf little crumbs and joins them all together retrospectively, as you said, Cliff. I do think now, do you? That this is all going to blur together and you're going to get clips from Space Babies when, oh, I've always wished I had babies. Oh, you do. And whatever he said in Devil's Chord, I always wished I was a drummer, and then he is. I always wished I was in the Beatles. Now you are. All that nonsense. I the Wishmaster did it better. I always like that. What are your wishes? And you turned into terrible things. You blew up and everything. Can I just ask everybody about this because it was hashtagged by RTD a month or so back. Tables don't do that. And it's all about the finale. Tables don't do that. Now, Mavity did a lot of heavy play in the last episode. We're in a fantasy universe, it looks like. Tables don't do that. What are you thinking?
I don't have any clue what it would be in reference to. I mean, I just, other than Davey's trying to be more clever than all of us, he seems to be driven by that.
I mean, when I do the rating shows, and of course I'll have another one on midday on Sunday, we look at what beats Doctor Who, and sometimes it's the repair shop, sometimes it's country file, sometimes interior design masters. So basically, we basically need to get the tables doing some spectacular stuff to beat all these other furniture and interior design shows, because Doctor Who is not beating them. So yeah, let's make sure those tables do everything. Anyway, does anyone have an idea?
It could be a reference to some table that's doing something somewhere uh, that's really a TARDIS console. I don't know what he's referring to.
Yeah, it
No
might
idea.
be just one of those teasers when yeah, it could be her TARDIS or something like that. But yeah, Tomboy Chick,
Yeah.
tables don't do that. That's us throwing them at the telly. Yeah. Because last week we had the hologram Mavity glove, and so he's moving it back. Mavity's going to be back. Now, this alternative reality, isn't that the Vlinks, do you think? The Vlinks is on the right, but that the alternative one's on the left. Um, so this just kind of feeds into the idea that you're going to get this alternative reality. Do you know what, Cliff? I'd like to see what this Vlinks could do, but so far he's a bit of a scaredy cat. He does a runner straight away, and he can get bust straight away. He's a bit crap.
Yeah, and it's tossed in. Units never needed a robot computer, whatever R2D2 thing before. I would even say that it's a and having not seen the image on the right until now, it almost strikes me as a replication.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck in my own theory now at this point, like where in the petri dish bubble, Lynx looks like the image on the right, but in reality, it's the image on the left up in her bone castle
Yeah.
above the entire thing.
Jamie Knight here. I think they noticed something odd about a table, which indicates they're in a simulation. Now that would make sense. Zero room. Tables don't fall out of the sky, and pummel hack sci-fi rise. Oh, Brian, honestly, how the disrespect for RTD. Garbage. That robot creature looks incredible. I can't lie. Shame it's in RTD's hands. You mean she's hot? It is hot. I don't know. Anyway. So there you go on that one. And then of course, the doctor gets to do 9 to 5. Do you know, we could have Dolly Parton in this, I bet you we get the 9 to Oh, he likes his music. Do you think we'll get Dolly Parton 9 to 5? Could they afford it? So you've got him working, you've got Susan Twistback making the tea. You saw her doing that in Devil's Cord. Oh, it's so exciting. I mean, who cares about Omega and the Daleks and Davros having legs when you can have a cuppa and you can talk about whether your kids got to bed on time? This is sci-fi on the cutting edge. Oh, I'm so excited. And then you've got Unit being an insurance firm. And there's Kate looking very dowdy. And there's her boyfriend, because that's what he is, Colonel Ibrahim, who just looks like he's at his... They're all old-fashioned typewriters. You've got her like a kind of a version of Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, put specs on them, make them all prissy, give them a clipboard, and basically, how can you imagine her being Wonder Woman? Do you know what, RTD? Come on, grow up. There they all are in the insurance firm, all looking out the window. We see it as Unit. They don't think it's Unit. There they are, looking in awe of the fact that they can see a TARDIS landing or something. They'll be looking at that bony structure going, gosh, tables don't do that. This is funny sci-fi. Isn't this reminding... The other thing is, we've had a cartoon this year in Lux. They've had a Scooby-Doo reference, and I think this is it's like the Flintstones all over it. And then you've got Mel is back. Now here you've got Mel talking to the doctor when he goes to work and he's basically boring. But then we also saw in one of the trailers where all those houses collapsed around us, if the whole world was collapsing. So these could be two different Mels, of course, Cliff.
Yes, I'm wondering why, unless it's uh, just a matter of availability. and that's why she's been brought back as a returning companion. But it also goes to uh, redressing things that were in the past. He's redressing Unit. He's redressing Mel. He's using these things as props. That's the only reason why it seems to fit into that whole fabricated reality situation to me. Whether it's the Ronnie doing it or somebody else that Ronnie's trying to take advantage of, I don't know. This just looks, kind of like the vaults and the looking at it. Just they're looking at something there to the far left, I think. But
I think the red arrows are going past. It's our VE Day celebrations and the red arrows, and there's a Lancaster bomber, and they've just seen it go past, and they're going, "Oh wow, look at that! Hey, remember when we were a country?" I think that's what they're doing there. But it's a bit. You can tell when RTD taps into like Pyramids of Mars and the eras he wanted to tap into. Now, please, everybody who's got their season 7 sets, don't you dare tell me off. I am just making the analogy, but I think it's a weak one. But basically, he knows Inferno is a great Doctor Who story. And you saw our unit regulars, Liz Shaw and everybody, very different in this parallel kind of world in Inferno. And this is kind of his kind of version of this.
Mm-hmm.
But
I agree. It's another attempt. It seems like that he's trying to use a trope from the past and put his own spin on it. Whether it's a payoff or not, it does seem to go into the fabricated reality idea that I'm currently stuck on.
yeah.
but
You see, they've got
I don't.
the rumors. There's just too many rumors, but most of the rumors that I've heard have ended up turning out to be true. I mean, the other one is that Mel is going to be a bit bi, or Mel might. And I'm thinking, no, don't do this to our old companions. I don't like this revisionism of stuff. This nonsense about Tegan, this nonsense about Tegan and Nissa. I mean, get over yourselves. This was not anywhere hinted. Now, by the way, right, this is going to trigger everybody to death. Are you ready for this, Cliff? Are you ready? You will not. Oh, right. You know that the last episode's called Reality War, and this one's called Rish World. Right, folks, you cannot unsee this. Conrad is sat there reading a book called Doctor Who. So, is this storytelling? Look at it, Doctor Who. And doesn't it look like the Harry Potter book? And do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what? Is this great? Is this meta? Would you love that? Or are you going, oh, I hate this. I hate it when what do you reckon?
Well, it plays into what I'm thinking. My idea that the Ronnie up in her castle in the sky is manipulating a reality that involves the Doctor Who and different scenarios, as if they were stories on the television that people could watch. So he's being meta about his own meta, and yeah, it plays into the idea that I have. I think. Now, who she's talking about with who has the power that she wants, I don't know.
I was trying desperately. Has anybody in the thread managed to zoom in enough to actually see what it says as a title? I don't think it says Reality War, Doctor Who and then it looks like it's 2 words maybe, or there's something of something. But doesn't that cover it? Look at the colouring. Look at the formatting. It is Harry Potter book. And I don't know. I didn't think he was on the same political side of the fence as her. They're both on the left, but depends what you're talking about.
And that would be why he's using it.
It's interesting because Harry Potter, as we know, is getting remade and is coming back, and he's coming back not in 8 episodes. It's coming back as a mega beast, doing fantasy properly. Leave fantasy to the experts. We'll do the science fantasy for science fiction. But this mishmash. I mean, anyway, are people happy about this? Christopher Hammond, Doctor Who and the Deadly Wish. I'm just wish I could see it. I've tried my best. people, let's have a look. Have anyone else got any ideas? Tom by Chick. I know. It's a bit like I didn't think they'd be in the same universe. He's got Rose Noble, the trans debate, and J.K. Rowling's in a certain position on that, and they're not in the same place. So I find this interesting. Um, so anyway, I thought this would really trigger people because I don't like this idea of Doctor Who becoming the storybook. I just, I, I, I just want it to be good old Doctor Who. I just want us to get back to that. Do you think we'll ever get back to a Doctor Who story rather than all this kind of meta and levels? And somebody somewhere will say this is extremely clever. I think there's a germ of an idea, but there are so many things going on that it will just be a mess.
Well, I mean, it's already a mess.
Yeah.
But I agree that I think that's what we want. Whether somebody can do it, I think there's so many glitches now, and there's so many things that have been, like a lot of people didn't like Jodie. I was not a fan of Jodie's portrayal, but by reflecting back, my gosh, the stories were better.
Right. Well,
I mean, by comparison, and you start to think how far down this hole, how deep is he going to dig this? Because at a certain point, you just either have to ignore it, erase it, and I'm definitely not a fan of a reboot. I don't want to have to restart this. The William Hartnell is the Doctor. Continue it. Figure out a way to continue it. But he's burning the show to the ground.
well, let's have a look.
That's my opinion. And once you've got ashes, that's really all
Yeah,
you're left.
Rain Parsons.
And I'm afraid that nobody's gonna want to take it on.
Wayne Parsons here. I predicted the Meta Truman Show scenario straight after the 360th anniversary special. Saw it coming. Still hope I'm wrong. Yeah, I know. It's like we all said the Rani and Mrs. Flood, and unfortunately, it wasn't clever at all. It was there right in front of us. Now, Frank says that says Doctor Who and the Reality War. I suppose that, yes, I know what you mean. Yes, I know what you mean. So if that's the case, Cliff, that means that the episode 8, which of course is called The Reality War, is a book, is a story. So, I don't know. Are we just going to go down this Basil Brush show nonsense?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's meta upon meta. He's either reading what the Ronnie's plan is and what's going to happen, or this is a fictional book in a fictional scenario. So what is he actually reading?
Yeah, and
what the payoff is I just don't even care.
but you see,
that's the real
the
shame.
casual viewer will go, "What, Doctor Who's a book now?" It's like you just know how this is going to pan out. Just give us a story, scary aliens, get behind the settee. Can we just get Doctor Who back to normal? Do your experimentation when you've established a program. This is really cart before horse.
Well, there's also another aspect to it. If you throw in things like this to people who are new viewers, who aren't experienced with good storytelling, then all you're doing is sort of flashing images. It's like the distraction move that magicians do, so you don't notice them switching the pea under the shells. You know what I mean? He's making people think there's more to it than there is just by flashing something up on the screen without there actually ever being any intent to it at all. And they don't know that they're being fooled.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is the bit when he finds out. That's the bit. Look at him there. And he's in the garb like Belinda is, as if they've been in their domestic bliss. But if you just take a look at that, is this the moment when the Doctor finally realizes he's not married, he's not a father, this is not his reality, and I just hope there's some story left after this. But to me, I don't know, it's not where I want to be with my sci-fi and my Doctor Who. Bogged down on Earth. It's all on massive scale again, just to show off some special effects. There'll be a reset button. There'll be a nonsense. I've got my broke hack bingo card, and they do the world building, and then suddenly there's a panic that there's only 10 minutes left, and suddenly we have to quickly press a button. And it's going to be so genius that suddenly Mrs. Flood will suddenly say, "Do you know what? I've been with this all the way, but now I've had enough." And you think, "Oh, really, really?" Anyway,
I think it'll be. I think it'll even be Mrs. Flood has a change of heart.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of whatever whatever grievance or plea to her.
Now, Cliff, we've been talking about by generation, the Rani, Mrs. Flood, blah blah blah, babies, and yet she came back last week. Susan was seen. And as you said, why is she in the present day TARDIS? Why was she seen now? Every other time the Doctor's been in peril, he hasn't looked at her or had a flashback to her. Anyway, there seemed to be leading to maybe us seeing Susan again. But I've just been talking to you for 1.5 hours about all the things that seem to be coming up. And if Susan does come back, I really just think this is a terrible, terrible disservice, because this could be really emotional. She's got things to ask the Doctor, like, why the hell did you leave me on Earth? David was all right, but I wasn't going to bloody spend the first person I kind of half fancy, and you just plonk me there. Am I not allowed to play the field? My God, I'd tell you, I'd take the Doctor apart. I really imagine he'd cry and say, "It's all about me," and he'd turn it back. "I'm the victim here. I haven't had kids either." Anyway, but if she is a time lady, and I know some people say that it's not been proven, he left her in one place. He moaned when he was the third Doctor, and he moaned that he was exiled to Earth in one period of time, and how cruel is that to a time traveller? He did it to her. There are so many questions that would be a story in itself, but I think it's just going to be lost in all this circus.
I agree. And that's not only that, but there was no we've had a lot of precursor kind of setup, right? For who's Mrs. Flood, who could it possibly be? We're all speculating and wondering, supposedly twiddling our thumbs in worry for 2 seasons. And yet Caroline Ford just pops in like this in the middle of the story with it's a complete non sequitur. And it either is contrived, in which case it's even worse. If the Ronnie's making him remember and she's not really there. Or somehow the actual TARDIS is somewhere else and she's inside of it. And trying to reach in. I'm more compelled by that kind of idea. But again, like you said, he's wasting that reunion on all this other contrivance that's all around it.
Yeah, and it's just, I think every fan, when they've thought about bringing one of the original companions back, that it's too easy to do a fan fiction, but it needs to be done really well. And I'm sorry, but Caroline Ford, we're all getting older. Oh, give her a beautiful story. Give her something amazing. And look, we're all fans, and we all know that Caroline Ford left basically because she had this amazing role, but it didn't pan out. She ended up into just a screaming companion. And she thought she was going to play this alien and this very challenging role for a young actress. And can we now just give her that now as a lovely farewell? I mean, as a fan, I think that would be great. I met her last year at JWAS, and she's had her hand up the puppets. She's they haven't washed since. They haven't changed the trousers. But yes, she was lovely, and I'd love her. I mean, I felt the same about William Russell. They got him back for that one scene, but I wish you could. Come on, she can walk and talk. Give her a bloody story. Luce, let's have a look. I don't think Susan will be in it any more than another little mental communication. There's too many levels. There's the meta, there's the fans, there's the gods of Ragnarok, there's this. You can imagine just being somebody at home after the football going, I don't know what's this, to try to make people want another season to bring her back properly. God, you're pushing your luck there. I mean, let's just use her now. Let's just give her a good IFRS, Susan will say, in my day, we had David Whitaker and Terry Nation writing engaging scripts, and I came back for this and an appearance fee. I mean, I don't know. We all want a nice round off. Did we all like the Sarah Jane school reunion when she had that chat with him in the coffee shop? And it seemed about right. I didn't like the rivalry with Rose. That got a bit tedious. It kind of undermined them both. Kevin, he wasted Susan in the episode 2. She didn't even stop him torturing. Technically, Belinda did that. But you know the other rumour, remember, Kevin, that Belinda and Susan are telepathically linked or are the same person? Just parking it there. I know. Why did it, you were asking, why is the TARDIS not going back on the 24th of May? Well, it could be something to do with timelines and the fact that Susan, there might be just something else going on there where Susan and Belinda being the same person, the TARDIS just can't land there. Anyway, I'm just speculating because fans do that. I'm not saying I'm an expert on it. This is where you go. Pete Merritt, RTD has brought her back to Regenerator. I think that's the case. He's killing the legacy of our show. Or he'll make a spin on it. He'll make a spin-off. And if of course, she met Belinda Chandra, so to speak, in the TARDIS. And yeah, I love it when you see the old actors coming back. And I don't know. This is what it's all about. Now, the other thing we haven't talked about yet is the TARDIS imploding. I mean, what's all that about? I mean, I'm sick of the TARDIS blowing up. I'm sick of the TARDIS being burned and, all the rest of it. I'm wondering if this is a trick. That it looks like a neat cliffhanger, but immediately it's reset because there's a kind of, the TARDIS has a force field and that can't really happen. Something like that.
Right. And I think that, we've only seen one way that it actually is destroyed in Frontios, so those ages ago. Yeah. I think that this is more of the false realities, more things to shock the Doctor or be shocking to him and his whoever's with him. I know Belinda is involved, but since I'm thinking that the Rani's manipulations of the situation occur even as far back as pre-Rose. I mean, Ruby. I don't see this as it being impactful. And the thing is that, like we've said about a number of things, when you do something catastrophic and shocking over and over and over again, then it's not shocking anymore.
Yeah,
nobody really cares.
If Susan and Belinda are the same person, remember that's the other rumor that this is it. Some have said Belinda is the 16th Doctor. Anyway, just to remind you, it's on in cinemas. They're going to do the double bill in a week's time. But they mentioned that when you see that, I'm not trying to sell you tickets, I couldn't be bothered, with a bonus preview of the war between the land and the sea. So, we'll end up seeing it anyway on YouTube. So here's a bit more of the alternative reality where basically it looks as though everybody's down and out. Our scientific advisors no longer got any handy bazookas. And there they are. Oh gosh, hard times. But Omega, people keep saying Omega, but then I keep seeing stories that it'll actually be season 3 that you might see. Now, I know there's a lot of kind of season 3, who said? Because there's been all these rumors, as you know, and if you don't like spoilers, everyone, this is the moment you just kind of go bye-bye. But basically, they've talked about whether it'll be a female actress next. That was that one. Then this person who's leaked quite well all the time and have been just about totally accurate, said that episode 7 involves the Doctor and Belinda living different lives in the Wish world. The episode opens with flashbacks to the Rani on horseback. The Asian actress Rani is seen riding a horse through a forest in Hungary at the beginning of Wish world. It's quite precise, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
don't know what to make of that, but that's that. But then, of course, all the fantasy stuff goes in so many different directions that the fugitive Doctor, remember, we saw them in episode 5. Mrs. Flood will bi-generate. Well, that happened. Susan rocks up at some point in the finale. Omega rocks up in the finale as some kind of redesigned creature. Yeah. And then, of course, there was the Caroline Ford might be in Wish World or the Reality War or both. Susan is said to be a glass avatar like what was seen in Twice Upon a Time. Mrs. Flood will be the one dropping the bombshell to the Doctor regarding Omega and his involvement in what is happening to him and Belinda. The Rani was the boss Meep referred to. The season ends with the Daleks capturing the Doctor. And I could go on and on and on because we know the rumours and the rumours, and then some say the Doctor turns into Rose. Just too much, Cliff. Just too much.
Yeah, this. What's frightening is that a lot of it's already panned out.
Yeah.
So, like you said, there's no reason to believe that the rest of it isn't with a degree of accuracy, high degree of accuracy, in terms of speculations. So, my guess is that this is
Well, hopefully, garbage.
probably working out. And I can even see where this Ronnie on horseback in the forest turns into her swooping up into the sky on that air bike.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as Garbage says, the rumours online was a fake account copying a genuine account. So it's a bit meta. But, you know,
How ironic.
the trouble is, I've used the clips from this account each week. And apart from one little detail, they've been accurate. So,
Pretty spot on.
yeah. Because I thought, oh, they wouldn't do a bi-generation of the Rani because it's too soon after the other one. Oh, they did. And that didn't have it. I found that so underwhelming. I could not believe how bad that was. Nothing against the people or the. Now, last night, Cliff, I didn't go to bed, and 5 newspapers at the time I went to air had said this. Then, of course, a lot of them redacted it. But if you went into town today and you bought a British newspaper, the story's in there. And the Sun one is still there. The BBC via the Metro newspaper, yeah, don't ask, it's not one of the big ones, has denied this is happening. But what they've said is we don't give you any confirmation. So basically nothing. We haven't heard from Shooty's agent. Because this is toxic for him, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it is from our perspective, but every one of these, he's doubled down. So is Russell. So is the BBC. They keep constantly saying, "Oh yeah, it's only meant to happen." And if you don't like it, the whole "go touch grass" scenario. They don't seem to ever want to own up to the fact that anything's going awry. And frankly, I think they feed off of this kind of rumor, speculation sort of stuff, and try to figure a way to spin it to their advantage each time.
Yeah, well,
without actually ever becoming aware of the fact that people are worried.
yeah, Paul Richards is not liking the sound of the finale at all. I just think that, I think in essence, if it was a kid in my class, I'd just say, and you have to with creative writing, you just say, you've got so much going on. Just focus on where you think the main tension is. Focus on the main characters where that tension is. And the rest is froth and save it for another story. Why the need?
Yeah.
Come on, I'm going to ask this rhetorically to RTD. Why the need to have possibly Omega, Rani, Susan, and I'll stop there, maybe Daleks. Why Do we need all that? And why have you saved it till the very end of the season when you could have just had a lovely little... Go on, sorry, Cliff.
I know, teacher. To say he did it.
Well, to change it.
He wants to take credit for all of this being, I've got Susan into the show.
Oh,
It's his ego, man. It's all about ego. It's all about, he can take the credit for having squeezed it in there somehow.
yeah, I know and it was all down to, I mean, let's have a look. Yes, so I've been streaming like a good un. Please like and subscribe if you haven't before we leave this one. And please just pass the word on. We'll be doing Who Night tomorrow. We'll be doing the Sunday midday ratings analysis. And we'll be doing Sunday at 5:45 with our full review. It got testy last week. It'll be testy again because we don't agree on the sense sphere. We always disagree. That's good. And the Who Pets, what they're up to. Let's... Oh, they're in Niagara. They'll have to be part. No wonder I'm not getting any. Right, Garbage, you're doing your best in the thread. The puppets have cleared off. The switchboard's bust. Honestly, they're sacked. I tell you what. Good riddance. They've been absolutely useless. Right, everybody, just before we go, let's have a look here. Nomadinas, plainly, how did last series end? Unsatisfactory? Lacking? Cheap? I think all three. Have the last 6 episodes bucked that trend? No. Why should we expect anything different this time? And there lies where we all become more cynical instead of being optimistic. And that's kind of where I am. And then Alan...
It's proof that money doesn't solve all.
Oh, I think money sometimes distracts people because they think they can do more. Alan Boyce,
they can do more.
Please put this once great show out of its misery. Lazy writing, poor storytelling. The last 2 episodes are going to be bad. Let's have every enemy back against it. Yeah. Should we have the Pandorica? Shall we have... honestly. So...
My only contention with that, I mean, I'm there with you, Alan. But I don't want it laid to rest. I mean, I think it needs to be parked. But that's going to count. That counts on the BBC seeing all this as detrimental to the brand and the longevity of the brand. And I don't think that they're there yet.
Yeah. I mean, is Belinda going to be Susan? Will Belinda be anything? Can you give anything away? Can you tell us anything? I tell you what, she's obviously signed an NDA. She's not telling us anything. She hasn't got much of a dialogue there. So, Belinda, I want to know, are you Susan? What's going on? Right, Cliff, we've been around the houses. Great expectations. Not. Tomorrow, we'll soon... Well, 44 minutes. We'll find out that basically all those photographs can actually move and have dialogue. That's all we'll learn. But, Cliff... Hopefully we shared a few ideas there and we tried to do what fans do, which is you kind of look forward. You kind of look forward tentatively. But tomorrow night, Who Night at 11 p.m, me and the panel will be here and I wonder what mood we'll be in. So thanks you for your time, Cliff. Thanks a lot for sharing your ideas.
Thanks for having me.
And I think we'll go for tea. I might sleep tonight. See you, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Bye.